Intermediate yoga. We're going to go for about 30 minutes today. And we have some classic intermediate stuff and we have some same but different stuff. So let's get into it. We're going to go for about 30 minutes. Let's begin by lying on our tummies. Now I can't put my head on the ground because I have this microphone on my face. But if you can, make a pillow with your hands and just rest your forehead on that pillow. And we're just going to breathe just for a couple minutes here. We try our best to breathe in and out through the nose and in and out through the tummy. And believe it or not, this is helping us to develop coordination, core strength, and core stability, because we're starting to put the right muscles in the right place for the right thing. So by breathing in and out through the tummy and breathing in and out through the nose, we start to use the respiration diaphragm properly, and just even the act of the tummy pressing into the ground on the inhale and the tummy kind of pulling away from the ground on the exhale just helps to tone the different muscles of the core, etc. Now, here's something that's going to be a little bit different here. We're going to keep breathing in and out through our nose, in and out through our tummy. Now, can we bend our right knee about 90 degrees? You'll bend your ankle too. It's almost like you're about to put your footprint on the ceiling, okay? We're going to activate the right glute. So just breathing normal, not overthinking it, not overdoing it. See if you can lift your right leg bone off the ground, even if it only goes half a centimeter. And we're trying to keep the pelvis on the ground, but we lift the leg bone off the ground and that activates the glute. Now bring your leg bone back down. Shake your leg loose a little bit. Take a breath in. Take a breath out and see if you can lift your leg bone off the ground. So we have the knee bent. We're going to feel the glute click on, and then leg bone down, shake it loose. We're going to do it 2 more times. Knee bent, lift the leg bone off the ground. Try not to use any other muscles. We just want to feel that right glute click on. Bring the leg down, shake it loose. Bend the knee, and we go 1 more time. And just notice if it's getting easier or if the leg goes higher. And we'll put that leg all the way down. And let's bend our left knee, please. So we bend the left knee, bend the left ankle, if that makes sense to you. And we try to lift the left leg bone off the ground. So we're just getting a good glute contraction on that left side. Bring the leg down, shake it loose. Bend your left leg, lift the left leg off the ground. Try not to push down with any other parts of your body. We just want to feel that left glute click on. Release, shake it loose. We'll do it 2 more times. Bend the leg, lift the leg bone off the ground. Feel the glute contract. Lower down. Last one. Bend the knee, lift the leg bone off the ground. Give it a good squeeze. And we'll bring that left leg down, shake loose, and let's come into Sphinx pose, please. And just notice how Sphinx pose feels. If you've done it in the past, does it feel a little easier now? Does it feel about the same? If this is the first time you're doing it, you may not have much to compare it to, but just notice if it feels kind of easy. We keep the shoulders down, we're on our forearms. People have asked in the past, kind of like, what do we do with the upper body in Sphinx pose? Well, we're trying to pull the shoulders down away from the ears. It's kind of like, it depends on how you think of it. You're kind of like pushing your forearms and your elbows into the ground. And that's what helps give you that lift. So your neck stays relatively long, shoulders stay down away from the ears. But if this puts too much tension in your low back, you can modify that a little bit. You don't have to shrug down as hard. Let's take one more breath here. Breath out. Now we do 8-point plank. So 8-point plank, we've got our hands flat on the ground, forearms flat on the ground. Take our feet a little bit wide. Tuck your toes under and turn your heels away just a little bit. The 8 points are 2 hands, 2 elbows, 2 leg bones, and 2 sets of feet. Take the breath in. Take the breath out. Now we start with the hands. Push down with the hands. Keep pushing with the hands and push down with the elbows. Keep pushing with the hands and the elbows. Now push down with the legs. And maybe your pelvis starts to float off the ground, and maybe it doesn't. And then finally, can we also start to push with the feet? So we're pushing with all 8 points. Keep the shoulders down away from the ears. You should feel this really, really, really deep in the front side of your body. Stay engaged. Lower all the way down. I can't go all the way down because of the microphone, but put your forehead on the ground if you can. Scissor your legs closed. Bring your arms by your side, palms face down. Take a breath in. Take a breath out. Now if you can, lift your skull an inch off the ground. Keep your shoulders down. Lift your arms off the ground. We're in what's called low flying locust. Now if you can, if you want to, pin your pubic bone to the ground and try to lift your leg bones off the ground. You don't have to do the leg lift, but since we activated the glutes early on, you should be good to go. You might be able to get your legs off the ground today. One more breath in. Breath out, slowly lower down. Bring your hands under your shoulders like a push-up. Brace yourself. Push to all fours. Tuck your toes under, and we come into downward facing dog. Your hips go up and back as you straighten your legs. Now don't worry if your legs don't go completely straight. Don't worry about that. Your knees can be bent a little bit or a lot. We're just trying to get our hips to kind of go up and back with our arms straight. Whoopsie. And without slipping on your yoga mat, because that happens. Now take a couple of breaths here. And now from here, we're going to look between our thumbs. We're going to come up to a standing position the way a toddler would. We come up high on our tiptoes if possible. Bend your knees, but push your butt back. Now we slowly start to walk our hands towards our feet, but our behind is going to go up and back, up and back. And that's what's going to kind of drag us directly straight into mountain pose. We take a breath in, take a breath out, and release. Good. Now let's do our sun salutation. We'll put it all together into one seamless flow. Stand at the center of our mat, face the short end of your mat, and we get into mountain pose, please. So we double check, feet about hip width apart, kneecaps pointing forward, lift and spread the toes. Activate your Kegel muscles. Pull your Kegel muscles into your body, keep them there. Spread your fingers wide. Pull your shoulder blades down and draw your forehead back and drop your chin just a little bit. Take a breath in. Take a breath out. On your next inhale, keep your shoulders down, but bring your arms out in front about halfway. Exhale, hands pass through heart center in a prayer fashion. We can touch the front of the thighs or the sides of the thighs. Breath in. Breath out. Let your knees go soft. Push your behind straight back. Let your hands trace your legs. When you start to feel tension, that's when you stop. It's called the rearward shift. So make sure your knees are going rearward as well. Don't let your knees drift forward. Your knees are going to drift backward. You just keep your chest up, shoulders down, forehead back. Take one more breath in. Breath out. And let's come all the way down to our tummies. And people will do this in different ways. They might do a modified push-up. They might just get to the ground any way possible, and that's fine. Any way you do it is fine, as long as it's safe. Now, from our bellies, we come directly into the Sphinx pose. We just kind of double check, shoulders down, forehead back, chin down. The upper body is active here, so we don't want the shoulders up by the ears. We're using those armpit muscles a little bit of the chest muscles. Take a breath in. Take a breath out. Now we'll take our feet a little bit wide, maybe about as wide as your yoga mat, maybe not. Tuck your toes under. Heels turn out. Take a breath in. Take a breath out. 8-point plank. Push with your hands. Push with your forearms. Push down with your leg bones. Push down with your feet. And we're trying to get the pelvis just to kind of float off the ground. Just enough to put some tension deep into the front side of the core. Keep your shoulders down. Take one more breath. Stay engaged. Lower down, please. Stay engaged all the way down. And then once you're down on the ground, if you like, keep your feet kind of wide. So we open the scissors a little bit. Point your toes. Arms by your side, palms face down. Take a breath in. Take a breath out. Lift your head a little bit, lift your chest, lift your arms. Now if you like, pin your pubic bone to the ground and see if you can lift your legs off the ground. And just notice if your legs are a little wider than normal, notice how it affects different muscle groups around the hips, particularly kind of like the outside hips. Breath in, breath out, and lower down, nice and easy. Good. Let's bring our hands under our shoulders. Brace yourself. Push to all fours. Tuck your toes under. Downward facing dog. And let's breathe. Breathe, breathe, breathe. In and out through the nose if we can. And just take notice if this downward dog is different than the previous downward dog. Now, let's stand up the way toddlers do. We'll look between our thumbs. Come up high on our tiptoes if possible. Bend the knees, push the behind back. And we're going to walk our hands up to our feet. Our behind will go up and back. Then our feet will flatten out, and it's the weight of the pelvis that's going to help pull us directly into mountain pose. Take a breath in. Take a breath out and release. Good. Now let's come to the center of the mat, please, and we'll face the long end of the mat. Let's take our feet kind of wide. So we're going to try something not really new, but like the same but different, and I'll explain as we go. So warrior 2 first. In this case, my right foot is going to point toward the long end of the mat, and my front foot is going to turn 90 degrees to face the short end of the mat. So just kind of double check, legs straight, hips level, breath in, breath out. We're going to bend this front leg about 90 degrees. So we get into this warrior 2 type position. So we're double checking to try to have a full footprint on each foot. Rear leg as straight as possible, a 90-degree bend on that front leg. Now if we can, pull your shoulders way down as you bring your arms up to the side. As you have your arms up to the side, notice your elbow pits and try to turn them more toward the ceiling. The elbow pits turn and the shoulder blades go down. One easy way to access those elbow pits is to turn your palms up. So by turning your palms up, you can see that your elbow pits turn up. Pull the shoulder blades down. Take a breath in. Take a breath out. Straighten that front leg and drop your arms. Good. We'll go to the other side. The left foot or that rear foot's going to point to the long end of the mat. The opposite foot points to the short end of the mat. Both legs straight. Try to get the hips kind of level at first. Take a breath in. We're going to bend this front leg. Shimmy and shuffle around so you get that 90-degree angle on that front leg. Rear leg as straight as possible. Pull your shoulders down, please. Arms out to a T. Can you turn your elbow pits up without turning your palms up? And maybe you can and maybe you can't. It's a subtle rotation of the humerus bone. But with your palms up or your palms down, it just helps to bring more action into the upper body. Take a breath in. Take a breath out. Straighten your front leg and drop your arms. Okay, now we're going to turn both feet to face the long end of the mat. We're going to bring symmetry into our position by doing rearward shift. Hands to the front of your thighs. Take a breath in. Take a breath out. Let your knees go soft. Keep your chest lifted. Push your behind straight back. Let your hands trace your legs. When you feel stuck, that's when you stop and we hold and breathe. And just notice if your rearward shift is feeling smoother, easier, deeper, more secure. Take a breath here. Breath out. Now tone your glutes and stand up. Okay, good. We can stay in this position for the next exercise. We're going to do side angle pose, but a little bit differently. And this exercise is going to help us get into that different variation of side angle. So if we can, we cross our arms over our chest this way. And we're going to lift our chest a little bit. So we want some length in the front of the body. Now think to yourself, left shoulder, left hip. Take a breath in, breath out, and bring your left shoulder to your left hip. But keep your hips level. Am I doing it? There we go. Keep the hips level. Back to center. We'll do that a couple of times. Breath in, breath out. Left hip, left shoulder. Back to center. Breath in, left hip, left shoulder. Back to center. We'll do it one more time. Breath in, breath out, left hip, left shoulder, and back to center. And just shake loose a little bit, relax. So we're activating, in that case that was our left side. And this is going to make sense when we apply it to the next yoga pose. Cross the arms, lift the chest if we can, breath in, breath out. Now it's right shoulder, right hip. And give it a good squeeze. And come back to center. Breath in, breath out, right shoulder, right hip. Breath in, come up. Breath out, right shoulder, right hip. Breath in, last one. Breath out, right shoulder, right hip. Give it a good squeeze. Back to center and shake that loose. Okay, so this is side angle pose, the same but different. So in this case, my right foot is going to point towards the long end of the mat. My left leg is going to turn out 90 degrees. Take a breath in, take a breath out, and we get into that warrior two stance. Now here's the difference. We're going to bring our arms out to a T. Take a breath in, take a breath out, and just like we did a second ago, we're going to go left shoulder, left hip. So it's a little more bendy through the spine than we normally do. keeping the hips level and imagining we're trying to squeeze the juice out of our kidneys here. Now, use the back of your left arm to press into your left thigh, and use your left thigh to press into the back of your arm. So we get some adduction. It's going to help us rotate the spine a little bit. Take a breath in. Take a breath out. And then we windmill up to warrior two and straighten that front leg. Good. Let's go to the other side. The rear foot will point to the long end of the mat. The front foot will turn out 90 degrees. Breath in. Breath out. Bend that front leg about 90 degrees. And we get into our sort of warrior two type position here. Okay? Hands out to a T. Now, thinking to ourselves, right shoulder, right hip. We're trying to bend from the rib cage. I know it's something we normally don't do, but this is just helping us to get into what's called the lateral muscles of the spine. So we're strengthening one side, lengthening the other. Now take the back side of your right arm and press it into your right thigh. And press your right thigh into the back of your right arm. So we get a little bit of rotation through the chest, and we get a little bit of adduction into that front thigh. Take one more breath. Windmill up warrior two. Straighten your legs. Drop your arms. Good. Now let's do rearward shift. Toes point forward. Kneecaps point forward if possible. Take a breath in. Take a breath out. Let your knees go soft. Keep your chest lifting. Push your behind straight back. And just keep going until you feel the resistance in your muscles. And just notice if you're getting a little further towards the ground, if it's a little easier, if you feel a little more stable. But keep the chest up. Keep everything engaged. One more breath in. Breath out. Push with your feet. Use your glutes. Wide-legged mountain pose. Take a breath in. Take a breath out and go. Nice. Really good work. Awesome. Now, let's get ourselves to the ground, please. And we'll work a little bit on our hip extensors and our hip flexors. Come to the ground any way you can, humanly possible. Any way that's safe for you is completely fine. And once we're on the ground, let's gently lie on our backs, please. Now, while we're lying on our backs, knees bent, feet flat on the floor, we have choices. If you like, keep your feet about hip width apart, toes pointing forward, heels close to your behind, that's fine. Or, if you can tolerate it, we take our feet a little bit wider than hip width and turn our toes out just a little bit, the Charlie Chaplin bridge. You choose. Whatever one you can tolerate, go for it. Take a breath in. Take a breath out. Pull your kegels up. Try to tone your glutes a little bit. Now push the floor with your feet and get your behind off the ground. Imagine you have a bathroom scale under each foot, and each foot is trying to be even. Stay engaged. Lower down. When you're safe on the ground, release. Take a breath in. Take a breath out. Engage your pelvis, your pelvic floor. Tone your glutes. Push with your feet evenly. Press down through 2 bathroom scales and keep them even. Stay engaged. Slowly start to lower down. Go easy until the very last millisecond, and then release. 2 more times. Breath in. Breath out. Kegels, glutes, push with your feet, get your hips up, give it a good squeeze. Go for about 5 seconds here. And just double check that you are engaged. Stay engaged and we lower down. We stay engaged to remain safe. We want to make sure that everything is braced and steady and stable to the very last second. And then once we're on the earth, that's when we can relax a little. Let's go one more. Breath in. Breath out. Kegels, core. Now push with your feet. Hips up off the ground. We're going to hold here for a few seconds. Keep pushing down through with your feet. Keep pulling up with your kegels. Now, if you can, try to go heels only. And you're just driving the heels straight down into the earth. You might feel it a little more in your hamstrings, the backside of your legs. You might feel a little more glute engagement, but remember those bathroom scales. Press evenly on both. Now stay engaged. Slowly lower down. All the way down. And then once you're safe on the earth, that's when you relax. Okay, now let's do one more. One more exercise, but we'll do a couple of repetitions, okay? So here's what we try. Without using our hands, we bring our knees to our chest. So we're using the hip flexors and the hamstrings to bring our knees to our chest. And if we can, our arms are by our sides, palms face down. So hold this for about 5 seconds. Now, we try to straighten the legs toward the ceiling and bring our arms up overhead. So we're going to switch between this position. So we have these sort of like dead bug legs, arms overhead. Hold for about 5 seconds. And now we switch, knees to chest, arms by our side, palms face down. And you're constantly pulling your leg bones towards your chest. Okay? So we go again, straight legs, arms up overhead. We're trying to pull our toes apart, pull our toes towards our shins, press into the heels. And then we bend the knees, knees to chest, arms by our side, palms face down. We'll do this a couple more times. If we can, straight legs, arms overhead. Give it a good squeeze. And then bent knees, knees to chest, arms by our side, palms face down. And give it a good squeeze. And we'll go one more time. Legs toward the ceiling, arms up overhead. And then from here, last time, knees bent, arms by our side. Now from here, if we can, keep your left knee right where it is. Straighten your right leg. And we're going to slowly lower the right leg to the ground. Give it a good 5, 6, 7, 8 seconds, something like that. But keep your left knee close to your body. Now, once your right leg touches the ground, bend your right knee, right foot touches the ground, and now we straighten the left leg. And we lower that left leg down slow. If you can even bring your right knee to your chest. So we're closer to that original exercise. But if your right foot stays on the floor, that's fine. Then once your left leg is safe and flat on the ground, once your right leg, or right foot at least, is safe on the ground, release. And then we just kind of shake ourselves loose. Now, for the interest of time, I'm going to end our practice here. You can, of course, continue to down-regulate, get yourself into final rest, etc. But if you'd like to end with me, let's roll up to one side. Just go kind of easy, and just sit up tall. Go easy. We'll bring our hands to prayer. Thumbnails touch the chest bone. With our eyes open or closed, we'll take a breath in. Inhale. Breathe out with a sigh. I appreciate you and I care about you. Thank you for joining me today. Namaste.